Hello everybody, and welcome once again to an incredibly well-made PowerPoint presentation where I successfully talk out of my arse for 15 minutes. Let's go! So this is also going to be only about the Gunmettle update and the changes that are actually relevant to the classes that feature in 6v6 mainly, so I'm not going to look at, ones like Pyro and Spy and that just because, it doesn't really affect the competitive community that much for the time being. So let's start off with the soldier. Equalizer and escape plan changed no healing penalty to 90% less healing from medics while active. I see no point in this change personally, but I guess it's just for newer players to understand that they're stupid and they need to put away their equalizer or escape plan. Black box changed plus 15 health on hit to plus 20 health on hit per attack. Changed how health on hit works for radius damage, is now capped per attack and scales with total damage done relative to base damage, i.e. doing 45 damage nets plus 10 health on a hit as base damage is 90. Hitting 3 enemies for 45 each for a total of 135 damage only returns plus 20 health. Now for me this is a bit of a really strange change because the black box was a very, very viable alternative to the rocket launcher for roamers. Obviously, there would be occasions when you wouldn't run it, let's say, on mid-fights because that extra rocket would be a lot more valuable for you. But the fact that the black box has a clip size of 3, so when you jump in, you've only got 2 rockets and you have to really hit them and make sure that they're bang smack full damage to sort of get anything out of it. To me, it's not necessarily a nerf that was needed, I felt. The only thing that this is pretty much going to be able to help with now is securing Roamer v Roamer or 1v1s on the flank as a soldier. So, to me, I'm not really too pleased with this change. I felt it was unnecessary and not needed, personally, but oh well. Demoman. Iron Bomber. Remove damage penalty on self-detonate. Reduce radius penalty from -20 to -15. I find these good changes. The remove the damage penalty on self-detonate is very good. And the radius penalty is also really good. I like the Iron Bomber. Well, I like the concept of it. Whether or not it will actually get used with the loose cannon becoming more of the prominent grenade launcher of choice, as much as it pains me to see it, it sort of actually brings us up to maybe as an alternative. It's very, very good for knowing the exact locations of spamming people, but at the moment I would still say that there isn't really that much of a choice, much of a reason to take this as the grenade launcher over choice over the stock or the loose cannon. Quickie bomb launcher. Damage is now increased based on charge amount when bomb is fired. This led to an unintentional change which I'll get onto later. So basically the longer it's charged up for, the more damage it will do. I haven't worked out what the damage is because stickies were only fixed yesterday and I haven't really had a look. Sticky bombs had no fall off damage, which is now being fixed. See, this annoys me because I was going to be a fucking relevant TF2 player. I'm now because of fucking sticky bombs have their radius back to the pre-nerf setting, which means it does the radius is a little bit more than a rocket launcher splash, which I guess is a good change. Not sure if this is intentional. Heavy weapon guys. General minigun damage penalty at level 2 and level 3 sentries slightly decreased, so it does more damage to level 2 and level 3 sentries. I guess that's alright, especially with the nerf to the damage that was done last year. But yeah, doesn't really affect comp that much, I would say, maybe every so often. The other interesting ones are the other changes to the other miniguns. So Natasha has added 20% damage resistant while spun up, which I think is good. Stun amount now has distance fall off. Decreases started at 512 hammer units down to 0 stun at 1536, which is also good for those that are newer to the game. The old Natasha was fucking hilarious because if you hit somebody over the other side of an entire map, they would slow down so much. It was just so funny, and it was overpowered. Brass Beast added 20% damage resistant while spun up, which is also another actual option, as it does more damage. It might actually be just an option to have on last instead of a sentry gun or as an alternative heavy. Not quite sure if this will ever be making its way into 6s proper, but who knows. The Tomislav now 20% more accurate, so it has less spread, and increased spin up bonus from 10 to 20%. Again, maybe a minigun of choice on lasts or pushing, who knows. We'll have to wait and see until next season, probably, when everybody's getting used to these changes a little bit more. General gameplay changes, the big one, and the only one that's really worth mentioning. Weapon exchange and pickup. Weapons dropped by kill players can no longer be picked up for ammo. Kill players will now also drop a medium ammo box instead. Players can now equip the drop weapon. The player's weapon will be dropped on the exchange. So a bit like how it works for Counter-Strike. Now the main one that everybody's sort of getting all antsy about is how it works with the medic. So obviously, yeah, if the medic has a medigun, you have a medigun, you can pick up their Kritz, Krieg or Uber. It hasn't been around enough for everybody to really find out what the effect of this is going to be, but it just depends. I think it's going to be putting too much pressure on medics to use Uber, as Sideshow said. It will make them pussy pop, so they'll just be Ubering at the first sign of danger, because, you know, if they drop, the enemy team will have you know, 2 Ubers to work with essentially. I mean, I've played in a few pickups and mixes, and it hasn't really had like a huge effect. But as I said, it is still too early to really say at the moment. Not many people are really sort of have it ingrained in their mind that if they kill the medic, they can pick up their medigun. It's still sort of like a very, very new thing. So most people just forget to do it altogether, if I'm honest. So there is still time for this to really settle in, and then we'll truly find out whether or not this is going to be a huge change that's going to cause problems, or if it's something that's going to benefit the game more. There's obviously pros and cons. Some people feel that this change will actually help speed up the game, because if you do get a drop on the enemy medic whilst you've Ubered, it means that you can push straight onto last. It will mean quicker rounds. However, on the flip side, it could also, as I mentioned previously, it will make people even more defensive, so we'll see less risky plays and various other things like that. So it's still up in the air whether or not this is actually going to be a truly beneficial change to the entirety of the game. Personally, I feel that if it goes the negative route, where the game sort of turns a little bit slower or less enjoyable for medics, I think that they can keep this function, but I feel that they would need to adjust the mediguns a little bit more. So either one, Ubers aren't as heavily relied on as much as it is now, or they sort of give the medic alternative ways to sort of keep themselves alive. You know, maybe, you know, these are just hypothetical speaking, but that's sort of like if this change actually makes it go down the worst. But, you know, there is still plenty of time for people to really go through all these changes and really find out if it's good or not. As I said, we'll probably find out by next season, I would say, in TF2. I'm not quite sure if these changes will really sort of make a true and, you know, solid feature at LAN, but who knows. I'm sure quite a few of the teams are already scanning over these changes and just sort of starting to think about various ways that they can make use of this and things like that. But it shall be an exciting time for Team Fortress 2. The only thing I'm concerned about that change is that it might make it even more of a, you know, it will certainly make newer players less likely to want to play medic, because there'll be a lot more pressure on them. But who knows? This is the first change since Valve announced matchmaking, so this is like, you know, the first new wave of balance patches and stuff. So there's more to come, I'm sure. And yeah, a brief word from me. Watch my Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/warheryeah, where you can watch me act like an absolute fool, and sometimes watch me do weird stuff with my chin. Follow me on Twitter @warheryeah. I don't know why I put my YouTube channel on there, because you're currently on it watching this video,